good time zone to you. Welcome back to a Veil Tete-a-Tete. I am your host, Lady Lily, or just Lily, joined with my husband and co-host, Eric.
Hello, hello.
It has been a week. Another week.
Mm-hmm.
Last week we talked about polyamory and our journey through that lifestyle, and I hope that everyone out there that listened to this, all those probably at the time of recording this episode, the 0 people that have listened, but we're working on it. We're trying. But I hope that eventually somebody gets something out of it and make some thought-provoking discussions.
Yeah.
So we have a few icebreakers that we each picked one. So mine is, what smell reminds you of a certain place or time?
Okay.
So what smell reminds you of a certain place or time?
So, for me, it's particular smell of like sweat and fabric. Kind of like a dirty pillow, you could say. It sounds weird or whatnot, but it reminds me of when I would stay summers out at my dad's.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And actually, every once in a while, hasn't been for a while, but I would actually catch that scent out of my own pillow.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and it would remind me of staying summers out at my dad's.
That's cool.
And you?
So mine is funny. There is a air freshener. I don't even know if it's still out on the market anymore, or it might be this fall season. But that smells exactly like a cabin you and I stayed in, the cabin that we stayed in. Um, and it just, every time we spray it, we haven't used it all yet, and every time we spray it, it just melts my heart because that is such a special place to me.
Yes, I actually happen to have that air freshener right here.
Oh, what is it called?
It is Febreze Air Mist Wood.
Oh, yes. I hope I can get some more.
Wood scent. And I'm guessing that this is supposed to be smell notes down here. Amber, oud, and cedar. I have no idea what oud is. O-U-D.
OUD. Arger wood, aloes wood, eagle wood, guar wood, or the wood of gods, most commonly referred to as oud or oud, is a fragrant, dark, and resinous wood used in incense, perfume, and small hand carvings.
Makes sense.
Agar wood.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Well, in which case, I guess that leads to my little icebreaker.
Yeah. So what is yours?
Mine, I came across this online. If you could dispense one liquid from each of your 5 fingers on one hand, what 5 liquids would it be?
Oh wow, that's uh water, pickle juice, bleach, cola, and alcohol.
All right. So, for me, it would be gasoline,
Okay.
water,
Okay.
Soylent,
What is soylent?
as in the meal replacement drink.
Oh, okay.
As you know, I don't do anything with those, but with those three, that's already like you're already there. You've got a lot of your things taken care of. You've got water and you've got Soylent, so you've got food and water. And then gasoline, you can use it for a lot of things. It's very valuable, no matter what. Then I agree with you, bleach. And then my fifth one is fluoric acid.
I knew you were gonna go somewhere sciencey with this. What is this? Tell me why you choose this.
Fluoric acid.
Mm-hmm.
So fluoric acid is, or hydrofluoric acid is an extremely reactive acid.
Okay. Why are we doing extremely reactive acids?
Because it might come in useful. Why are you doing bleach?
To clean things?
Uh-huh.
What are you gonna be cleaning? Bones?
I don't know. What bones? I've got fluoric acid.
Wow.
In any case.
So what are we talking about this time?
So this week, I'll sort of lead it. And we're starting sort of a new theme that we'll touch on from time to time. We'll see how often. Could be every other week, could be a little bit less often, but sort of a campaign journal. As we've talked about in both of the previous episodes, we're avid Pathfinder fans of the Pathfinder 2nd edition tabletop role-playing game. And we're starting a new campaign, a new adventure. We've got a couple of players that are pretty new to the game. And yeah, so I figured that we would talk about the adventure, bring up the other characters, and I'll just sort of talk, about the adventures, some of the setting and whatnot. Sort of set the stage, and then from time to time we'll sort of give an update, and we'll chat about this adventure.
Cool. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. We've got my character.
Yeah, we'll get to characters.
Okay. You got this whole outline. I'll just let you
a
do
little
your
bit,
shit.
yeah. Give me just
Clicky.
Yep. Sorry about all that.
We are on point, guys. I promise you.
We are absolutely professionals, and I'm not a hack and a fraud. You're a hack and a fraud. Not talking to you over there.
I am a hack and a fraud.
I was not talking to you. I was talking to the audience.
Oh, the audience is a hack and a fraud?
Sure.
Everyone's a hack and a fraud. We're all fucking scrambling at this shit.
The fraudulent concept of the number 0.
What?
Exactly.
What were you typing? What are you doing?
I was getting our party list up.
Ah, yes. So are we talking about characters now?
Nope, not yet. Give me just a second. All right, so that one, this one, pull this back up. So first I was going to talk about the adventure a little bit.
Okay, so tell me what we're going to be playing.
The adventure that we're going to be playing is Pathfinder Adventure Path. For anyone not aware of this, Pathfinder has a few different types of adventures. You've got your standalone adventures, your premium modules that are they last for a few levels. They're decent size and whatnot. And then you've also got your adventure paths, which come in multiple volumes. They're multiple decent sized adventures. Each book in an adventure path is going to be smaller than a premium module, but together in the length of a particular adventure path, it'll form a much larger adventure. And the adventure path we're playing is Abomination Vaults. It is an adventure path that originally ran from January 2021 to March 2021, as they're published one book per month. This one, as you can probably tell, has 3 modules to it. We, however, are running the hardcover edition, which is just a compilation of all 3 in one. And the Abomination Vaults is a mega dungeon. More or less, you've got a large dungeon and the party goes through it, kind of a la the original Diablo.
Wait, you did this in the original Diablo?
Yeah, and that's right. I never played the original Diablo. So in the original Diablo,
not with me around, at least.
Your hub town is Tristram, and the entrance to the dungeon is the Tristram Cathedral. And you start going down and down, and it's you go down floor after floor. It's a giant mega dungeon.
And then you come up and resupply and everything. You go back down.
Yeah, precisely.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and that's what the whole video game, like dungeon crawl looter, was built around. Well, here with a tabletop RPG, that concept also lives pretty strong. And so with this one, I'll be running this adventure path with the mega dungeon being Gauntlet Keep, and the dungeons underneath known as the Abomination Vaults.
Mm-hmm.
So more or less, this Gauntlet Keep was once the fortress, the hold of witch named Belcora Haravex, who threatened the metropolis of Absalom. And 500 years ago, a group of heroes known as the Rose Guard rose up against her and apparently slew her.
Apparently.
So the legends say. They then went on to found the town of Otari, named after their fallen cohort, the rogue Otari Ilvashti, which is the town hub for this adventure. Well, now,
Otari.
500 years later, the ruins of Gauntlet awaken, and a strange blue light can be seen on the strange lighthouse on top of Gauntlet Keep, the so-called Gauntlet, which was always known to be strange, as it is a lighthouse that is a little bit more than a half a mile inland. And
lighthouses that can't be seen that far inland.
Right. So, in addition to this, because, well, we've run up and down every which way up to a certain point of this adventure.
Yes. Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
In fact, in some
Are
capacity.
we giving spoilers for this adventure?
No, not so much.
Dang.
Maybe slight spoilers.
Slight spoilers. I want to talk.
We'll try to stay mostly spoiler free up till the point that we're talking about.
The game.
Yes, within the adventure.
Oh, darn.
But in any case, so with the various combination of all the various parties we've been in, all the various groups, me running it a couple of different times, you running it, this is going to be our 6th party going into this.
Yes.
That being said, means that there's quite a level of familiarity with a lot of it, which means I'm also adding additions where instead of just starting with this adventure, I'm also starting with the Pathfinder beginner box adventure, Menace under Otari. A really good intro into the Pathfinder 2nd edition rules.
Yeah, it really goes kind of point by point the different rule sets and things you have to deal with.
Yeah, and it's got a good mixture of different encounter types, be it combat encounters, traps, puzzles, to really sort of introduce various concepts and rules for Pathfinder 2nd edition.
Yeah, really.
I'll also be weaving in bits and pieces, parts of the Troubles in Otari module, which is a anthology of small quests, small adventures that take place in and around the city of Otari. And then also, I'll be using some third-party content called Abomination Vaults Expanded, which just sort of expand and reflavor some things for all this to come together, hopefully, to be sort of the ultimate version of Abomination Vaults, at least as far as me running it is concerned.
That's some high expectations there.
Here's hoping. I'm trying to put quite a bit of labor into this to hopefully hook a couple new Pathfinders.
I see.
That being said, we can talk about our party. And you are one of the players.
Yes, I am. I should have done this beforehand. I have so many characters, guys, that I don't remember exactly the character unless I'm looking at their character sheet. So, I know that I am playing Alessandra Nayland.
Mm-hmm.
She is an elf Dampier sorceress.
Mm-hmm.
With the undead bloodline. And she's got fangs. And she's born of the Maori or the Morai. Sorry. Maori. Good God. That's that's because my head knows that word and not the Mori.
Moroi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one then.
So in which case, she is what would be known as Svetoker.
Yes.
Svetoker.
I didn't know how to pronounce that.
It's a difficult one.
Yes. But the Morai are the most common vampires, and she she does better at like not getting drained, and she's better at speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Um and we are starting at level, oh, I have a skill training I didn't do.
And yeah, I actually wanted to dig into this for anybody who is familiar with Dungeons and Dragons. That bit about being an elf Dompier might seem confusing, right?
It is.
Yeah, because there's elves, of course, but there's also Dompier.
Yeah, but Dompier are can be any ancestry.
Ah, but here's the thing. In Dungeons and Dragons, they are their own ancestry. But in
Oh.
Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you've got your ancestry and then you've got heritages. And
So even if you're an elf and you give birth to a Dompier, they're going to be a human Dompier?
no, but there's just going to be a Dompier. That's going to be the basis of their stats. There's not going to be much statistically or mechanically elven about them.
Oh.
In D&D. Unless, of course, as D&D 5e is wont to do, it empowers the DM to flavor things a bit more and move things around, as it's not a very crunchy system.
Mm.
At least not from a Pathfinder standpoint.
Ah.
And as I was saying, so each ancestry has its own heritages. So there's a few different heritages for elf, such as the ancient one, the woodland elf, the cave elf. But there are also, outside of that, there are versatile heritages that can be applied to more or less, basically, any ancestry, such as Dompier. Means you're part vampire. But you've also got other things. You've got
Iavarin.
Yeah, Iavarin, which means that you're half elf, which, yes, half elf is not its own ancestry in this. You can apply Iavarin to any ancestry that isn't an elf. So you can be half dwarf, half elf, half orc, half elf, half minotaur, half elf. Don't try to think about the mechanics of that.
Do I? It's like Sophia and Zora.
Yeah. In any case, so that allows for even more levels of customization. And you get some really weird, freaky combinations to a point of a different Abomination Vaults that we are playing in, that our friend is running, where I'm playing an automaton that has the Nari heritage, otherwise known as Ifrit previously. So he's got this fire-based genie heritage to him, which you think, how's that possible if he's a machine? And more or less, the sort of automatons that he comes from, their energy, their core is powered by sort of planar energy. And towards the end of the empire that he was created by, they started using like demons and devils and just whatever sort of extra planar creature they could grab. And he, of course, was formed by grabbing a particularly powerful Ifrit, and thus his fire powers.
Nice. And then he's also a kineticist.
Yeah, he's a kineticist. So, in which case, think a bender from Avatar: The Last Airbender, where you channel elemental energies and you can bend and move them. But that being said, getting a little bit sidetracked,
As we want to do,
as we are wont to do with all the freaking autistic ADHD in this show.
right?
But so that's your character, Alessandra.
Mm-hmm. And she comes from just a second. I have it up. What is the Abomination Vaults? She comes from a town. Oh, she comes from Greengold.
Oh, right. Yes, Green Gold. The only
The
town in. Oh, you want to go ahead?
yeah, I was gonna say the only town in Kyonin that allows outsiders and kind of barely, and is kind of the port to the outside world.
Yes, Kyonin being the
Yeah.
the homeland on this planet of Galarian for elves. That is the elven homeland.
Yes. And she was an elf there. Her mother was a barmaid. Let's see. She was never really, once she found out that she was a Dompier, her mom was, devastated. She was already devastated by her, who she thought was her love, leaving her in the middle of nowhere, or rather in the middle of the night, kind of thing. Just disappearing one day and leaving her pregnant, and then she had a kid, and she found out that the kid was a Dompier, and she's like, nah, I'm not having any of that. So she raised her, but didn't really, care for her.
Mm-hmm.
So she decided to immerse herself in books, and she devoured all the books in Green Gold that she could get her hands on, and moved through various towns, shipped to Kyrus, then decided to go to Absalom. But before she went to Absalom, she was going to go to the towns around Absalom, see what they had to offer before she went to the big city. And she heard about Otari and the store known as Odd Stories, and has been talking to Morlabent for the last several days, weeks. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we'll get to more Labent and Odd Stories a little while later. Our other party members are you've got Zorik Bloodmaw, the Colo barbarian. He is playing a dragon instinct barbarian. And then this is a mouthful. Felrithus Husejet, I guess.
Sure, Felt.
Yes, otherwise known as Felt, a half-elf Ayavaran bard. Sorry, a polymath bard. And yeah, we'll get into their backstory.
What is his ancestry?
Human.
Okay.
Yeah, good old classic human half-elf.
Okay.
Known as Felt.
We don't have their backstories yet.
Not quite yet. We'll get there a little bit later on. that being said, I figured we could talk about the setting of this adventure.
Okay.
More broadly, it is the Isle of Kortos, or I suppose most broadly, it takes place in the region known as the Inner Sea region, which is the region where most all adventures take place in Pathfinder's adventure setting, the Lost Omens setting. And most of those take place within this region, the Inner Sea region, which consists primarily of the northern-ish continent of Avestan, which is analogous a lot to Europe, plays well with the classical European high fantasy. And then south of it, the continent of Garund, which is analogous to Africa. And in between the two of them, analogous to the Mediterranean Sea, you've got the Inner Sea. And in the middle of that Inner Sea, you've got the Isle of Kortos, which is ancient Aslanti, the ancient Aslant being a ancient civilization, but Isle of Kortos is ancient Aslanti for Starstone Isle. The Starstone, of course, being the stone that fell from the sky that spelled the doom of Aslant, but was later pulled from the bottom of the sea with Starstone Isle by the living god Eridan, who later died.
Yeah, that son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm. The jewel of the Isle of Kortos and even the entire Inner Sea is the metropolis of Absalom, the city at the center of the world. So Absalom is the largest city in the world.
Or as much as we know so far, technically.
Well, I mean, true, but I would be surprised if they make a larger city on any other continent. This is sort of their big magnum opus of a city. They might make other ones that are about the same size or right at the same size, but I don't know that they'll make a larger metropolis. But as of the rough modern date of this adventure, which Pathfinder has this progressing timeline that is sort of sometimes more loosely than others, but present in all of its adventures. They are all happening roughly in real time as they're published. So by the calendar in world, whenever this adventure starts, it starts in the year 4721 AR. AR being Absalom Reckoning, or the founding of Absalom. So yes, it's been more than 4,700 years that Absalom has existed, and it is a massive, sprawling metropolis that is surrounded by a wasted plateau known as the Cairnlands. Because, as Absalom is the jewel of the Inner Sea region, many would-be kings or tyrants have tried to besiege and conquer Absalom, but none have succeeded. And so you've got the Cairnlands that are just filled to the brim with various ruins.
Siege equipment.
Yes, ruins and siege equipment of failed sieges in the past. You've got such things as the Red Redoubt, which is a massive previously mobile mechanized fortress commanded by Karamos, the machine mage. Or you've got the Spire of Nex, which is a spire that was magically teleported or constructed unknown by the legendary Archmage Nex, who ended up disappearing entirely. And then to the north of all of that, you've got the Riven Hills, these rocky hill lands that are known to be somewhat hazardous as they're heavily populated by centaurs and minotaurs, which are the descendants of a previous army of a minotaur commander named Vradny Voon, who at one point in time led his own siege on Absalom with an army made of centaurs, minotaurs, harpies, and the like. And then along the south coast, as Absalom is on the southeastern sort of corner of the Isle of Kortos. If you go over to the southwest corner of the isle, you've got this city of Diobel, which is a pretty economically prosperous town. It's the second largest port city on the Isle of Kortos. And it's mostly controlled by a trade consortium known as the Kortos cartel, or the Kortos Consortium, which is a variety of trade consortiums from mining to logging, trade, all sorts of different trade organizations that have come together to form sort of a large cartel. And in between those, Diobel on the southwest, Absalom on the southeast, is the city, the town we find ourselves in of Otari. And Otari is a relatively small town of about 1,200 people. It's not too large, but it's flourishing. It does a brisk trade in lumber and fishing. And it was founded by the Rose Guard, the heroes I spoke of that were famous. They made their mark, their legend, in defeating the witch Belcora Harvex 500 years ago. So, amongst their number, you've got Otari Ilvashti, the namesake of the town. Sly, a thief, and true rogue and adventurer at heart. He grew up as an orphan in Absalom, and he ended up falling in with pirates for several years. And then one day, they had a raid go wrong. However, Otari's life was spared by a cleric of Caden Kalian, the god of adventure. This marked a turning point in Otari's life. He gave up piracy and instead took on the Kalian cause of justice and liberation and adventure. He started to make a name for himself and became known as the Seahawk across the inner sea due to his habit of swooping down upon slaving vessels from seemingly out of nowhere. The Seahawk, by the way, is also known as the Osprey. And thus, the Osprey Club in Otari, the semi-infamous thieves guild, is named after him.
Nice.
Then you also have Vol Rajani, a proud warrior from the shadowy lands of Nadal. She's descended from the nobles and royalty of the nomadic horse clans that were indigenous to that region before it was claimed by the shadowy god Zon Kuthan. Vol fled from Nadal, taking her ancestral blade, known as the Cooperative Blade, or alternately known as the Rosa Argentis. She took it and she fled towards Absalom, bringing her sword and her family's symbol, a silver rose. With that and her heraldry, she became known as the Rose Knight, as she battled her way across the Inner Sea region, taking place in arena combat and slaying monsters on adventure. She eventually became known, and it's Volrajani who, having met the other members of the Rose Guard, who hit upon the idea that they should join forces, and it was because of her rose symbol that they became known as the Rose Guard. And then there's Zarmavdian, a dwarven wizard who not much is known about him. He's a figure shrouded in mystery. In fact, even the name Zarmavdian is not his true name. Zarmavdian is a title given to him by a remote tribe in the distant Mwangi Expanse on the continent of Garund. Zarmavdian, roughly translating to the Watchful One. He was known to be observant and clever, and with a highly tuned tactical acumen, and a true Renaissance man, dabbling in everything from cookery, poetry, cartography, arts and crafts. But for all that, his story is oddly anticlimactic, as he disappeared after the exploits of the Rose Guard. And then finally you have Isefna Minhemes, the Huntress, the youngest of the Rose Guard, but eventually came to be regarded as the leader of them. She was a devout follower and indeed cleric of Erastil, the god of small communities and the hunt. And she, through their adventures together, eventually she and Otari ended up growing closer, and they ended up romantically involved. So you've got the Rose Guard, who are the sort of famous founding heroes that sort of still to this day cast a shadow over the history of everything in this adventure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're kind of your typical adventuring party.
Yeah, if you look at it from that way, you've got a fighter in Voldrajani, a rogue, a wizard, a cleric. It's actually the exact prototypical adventuring party.
Yeah. So, what are we facing?
So, eventually, they hear of a sorceress, a witch, kind of use interchangeably, named Belcora Harvex. Belcora was from a rather well-known but rather feared family from Absalom. And upon their expulsion, she vowed bloody revenge against the city of Absalom and moved far out into the swamps, miles outside of Absalom, to the west, a swamp known as the Fogfen, where she began construction of a keep, Gauntlet Keep. And it was from there that she was going to plan and execute her attack and takeover of Absalom. Hearing tales of this, the enterprising adventurers that they were, the Rose Guard decided to fight and defeat Belcor Harvex once and for all.
Yeah, huh?
And according to the tales, it was a mighty fight with
lots of fireballs.
Yes, arcane flame and lightning flying around. Various dark minions coming in, but being laid low by the Rose Guard. And in the end, according to legend, Belcora Harvex was defeated, though costing the life of the rogue Otari Ilvashti.
Mm.
And it was after that that the Rose Guard, on advice from Zarmavdian, built a town nearby that they named after their friend Otari, as Zarmavdian felt that even though that they had apparently slain Belcora, she was not gone. So they built the town of Otari to stay there and keep a vigil over the ruins of Gauntlet. And yeah, that's sort of the background that they're coming into. Fast forward 500 years to the year 4721, and our adventurers will be coming into the town of Otari.
Yes.
And very quickly, they'll hear of something much, much smaller in scale. The owner of the fishery, Tamley Tandervale, has a job for some enterprising folks. There's been something in her fishery's basement that has been getting into her wares. And answering this call is what will lead our adventurers into the beginning of their destined rise to greatness, so to speak.
Yes, destined rise to greatness.
Or a total party kill, who's to say?
Yeah, because that's totally not happened before in this adventure path.
Yeah. As I said, this is the 6th time, and this is the 3rd time that I am running it. One of the others is still ongoing. They are level 8 now?
Level 8, I think.
Because you've just gone down to the 7th level of the Abomination Vaults. And the other one, which is the same party for the most part as that one, ended in a total party kill at, I believe you guys were
3.
Yeah, 3rd level. So we'll see. A thing that can be criticized, though I don't think it deserves actual criticism, is that Pathfinder 2nd Edition can be especially swingy at the very low levels, 5 and below.
Yeah.
But to me, that just sort of emphasizes to the players the need for teamwork and tactics.
Yes.
Which is much greater than in most other tabletop games. It's something that sets it apart. Where, unlike in Pathfinder 1st Edition or any D&D, you're not punished for moving around for the most part. Anybody who's aware and familiar with Pathfinder 1st Edition or D&D 5th Edition or 3rd or 3.5 or anything of the sort knows that movement is rather locked down in combat. If you move out of a space that is threatened, that somebody who is nearby, they get an attack of opportunity off on you. So usually you end up in this little gridlock where nobody moves and it's just a slugging match. With Pathfinder 2nd Edition, this isn't the case. Only a few creatures who are particularly adept at combat and particularly quick with their reflexes have attacks of opportunity. Or in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, since the remaster, just fled my mind.
I don't know what you're thinking of.
What it's called now, attacks of opportunity.
Reactive strike.
Yes, reactive strike. But there's also all sorts of other reactions that are similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
And this leads positioning to be much more fluid, and that with conditions and just various other little things makes combat a little bit quicker and a little bit more dynamic and fluid and tactical.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to the fact that teamwork is important. Setting up your teammates to get additional bonuses. While the numbers in Pathfinder 2nd Edition get quite high, especially for anybody coming from D&D 5th Edition, it's still rather flat. Your range at any particular level, if you're any good at a particular thing, is pretty close to the point where a +1 or a +2 really does make a difference. And a +4 is a huge bonus. So being able to stack various buffs on you and your allies and various penalties on your enemies really does go a long way to change things. It really does make a world of difference in combat. It's night and day.
Mm-hmm. I definitely prefer Pathfinder 2e over anything else.
Yeah, and that's sort of why we've stuck with it for so long. We play tested it.
Mm-hmm.
We were already playing Pathfinder 1st Edition at the time.
Yep.
And we've dabbled with 5th Edition here and there.
But, yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, it never felt, I guess to be honest, never felt crunchy enough to me. Everything was unspecific. And just sort of whatever the DM pulled out of their ass at the moment, right? Which at certain points in time that's good and whatnot, but it didn't feel right to me.
Oh no, I completely understand that.
And but since its full release in 2019, so 5 years now.
Jeez.
Yeah, 5 years of Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Does not seem like it's been that long.
But since 2019, we've been playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition solidly. It is basically been our only tabletop game.
Yep, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that is all about our game and the area and the backstory of the town. And
yes, quite an info dump.
Yes, that was a lot of information. But yeah, I think that's about time to wrap it up, huh?
I believe so, yes.
All right, you got anything to say before we leave?
Nothing other than I'm looking forward to this game, and I hope that everybody else is, and I hope that anybody who listens to this continues tuning in and maybe looks for more updates on what's going to happen to this group of adventurers that we're going to have.
Yes, we'll be talking about that as we go along and see how they do, see how long they survive. But if you like this podcast, or you like listening to us, please give us a like, comment, follow us on your favorite podcasting listening site. And we will see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.